I didn't really have any expectations, but I got to tell you, I felt so at home and so welcomed and so just well received. And I thought, this is a place I could actually live. And I don't say that about a lot of cities. So I just am so excited to be back. The weather is cold, but the people are certainly warm. And I hope that you will feel at home with me for the next 30 to 40 minutes as we just get into some ideas and some strategies that can potentially support you in your business and support you personally as well. As Eric mentioned, I have been speaking and training in some capacity for 20 years. April will be my 20th anniversary. And for a while, I thought I had it all figured out. The older I get, the less I know. I started out my career in Southern California, and I was actually in the insurance business. Do we have any insurance professionals in the room? A couple of you? Wow! Fantastic. Financial services in some capacity. I know they distinguish those two things. Well, initially I worked for a company called Aegon Corporation, and I was not what you would call, at least initially, a top producer. In fact, I had no money when I started, Lewis, and about 6 months later, I had less money than when I started. And I had one of those conversations with my manager, and his name is James. And I said, James, I just don't think I'm cut out for this business. He said, yeah. I said, I think I'm going to quit. And he said, okay. I said to James, no, it sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Boss, I'm leaving sales tomorrow. Seems to me, I've done all I can. My friends won't let me borrow. No, that's why I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I said I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. Why in the world won't anyone buy from me? They won't do what I tell them. Everybody wants me to give it to them for free. They're not happy when I try to sell them. That's why I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I said I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I don't want to say nothing. I already sold my house, my car, and my wife's ring. That's it. I quit. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I said I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. Well, thank you. Wasn't sure how the banjo was going to fly in Toronto. So we're doing all right so far? All right. It really was a close call, and I had another conversation with James. I said, James, I'm going to quit first. I'm going to set a record for this company. And he said, whatever, dude, just get back to work. And somebody recommended to me my first motivational seminar. Do you remember your first motivational seminar? Or maybe your first teacher, or your first coach, or the first book that had an impact on you personally and how this maybe shifted a specific thing in your business. Well, this was one of those experiences for me. I went to this particular seminar, I read this particular book, and it had a profound effect on my business. I ended up setting a record for the company. James came up to me the next day, said, are you going to quit now? I said, man, I'm cool now. I kind of like it here. It's amazing when you get to that next level. I know some of you are here to look at what that next level looks like, how different life can become. And I became extremely committed to training and development. I'm telling you, I went to all the seminars I could. People that maybe you've heard of, like Brian Tracy. Is that name familiar to some of you in here? Dennis Waitley, Jack Canfield, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Marianne Williamson, Wayne Dyer. I mean, you name them as a 21, 22-year-old. I went to all their seminars. I bought all their stuff. And it always seemed to have an impact on me. I remember one day learning a strategy on how do you handle frustration. I'm sure currently in your lives there is very little frustration. Before I share with you the strategy, I'll just share with you the situation. It's a beautiful day in California until I opened up the door of my office and I noticed as I walked in, our copier was gone, our TV was missing, the computers were nowhere to be found. We were not scheduled for a move this day, so this was a bit peculiar. I walked into my private office. I know some of you have these libraries in your office. I had an entire wall, Nick, dedicated to the personal and professional development library. Any of you have a library like this in your office or in your homes? Hope that some of you will pick up some resources for your library today. I mean, this was about $6,000 worth of stuff, books, tapes, videos, audios, computer programs, and of course all that was gone too. I got extremely frustrated. But then I remember my strategy on handling frustration. It was on one of those tapes that had just been stolen. The strategy was to ask yourself a question. The question was, what's funny about this I have not noticed yet? And I finally got an answer. I pictured my perpetrators taking inventory of their newfound stock and passing over the copier, the TV, the VCR, the computers, and finally getting to my library and one of them saying to the other, "Hey man, it looks like one of those motivational books. Let's check that out." And I picture myself sitting in a seminar not long after this, listening to these two men talk about how their whole life changed when they ripped off this guy in California. Now I share with you that because truly your whole life can change in a moment. And that's the subtext of this book, is that one simple choice can change the course of your life. And I want to challenge you all today to make one simple choice that can change the course of your life. I left that business in 1994 to pursue my dream of getting into the personal and professional development business. My first company was started in Atlanta. Ran it for about 7 years, bought a home in one of the nicest neighborhoods there. I did pretty well, or so I thought. And then I moved out to Southern California, and I started working for this company that Eric mentioned called High Achievers. Any of you ever heard of this company, High Achievers? A couple of you in the back. High Achievers was around 2000. I didn't start the company. I came on board about 2001, 2002. We worked with all these guys, the Jim Rohns, the Jack Canfields, Les Brown, Dennis Wavy. I got to rub shoulders with them. I started working in Los Angeles, then I moved to the beach. I was 6 houses from the ocean in a little town called Manhattan Beach, just south of Los Angeles. Have you ever been there? A couple of you. Nice place, right? I mean, I had it all under control, or so I thought. I was making more money than I'd ever made before in my life. I now got to rub shoulders with these people and even share the stage with people like Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield. And I was making more money than I ever thought was possible. And then something happened in California. It was around 2006. It took a little longer to hit the east side of the continent here, but in 2006, the real estate market shifted out in Southern California. Our business was tied about 70% to real estate. So when that business shifted, what do you think happened to our business? Our business shifted along with it. Those same meetings that I was pulling out thousands of dollars in profit, now I was pulling my tail between my legs and leaving with nothing. My business partner at the time had a great idea. He said, "You know what? I'll just sell the business to Doug." Seemed like a good idea at the time. And I bought this company called High Achievers based on 2 assumptions. One is I can sell my way out of anything. And 2, it can't get any worse. I found I was dead wrong on both of these assumptions. Instead of buying multiple streams of income, I now had multiple streams of expenses. Has anybody ever been there before? And I just couldn't keep up. I mean, I had this monster machine just hemorrhaging money. All the meetings I went to just became more of the same. And I got extremely frustrated. I brought the company back to Atlanta. I thought that's a place I could just regroup and reground myself. And the bottom line, instead of getting better, it got worse. And I ended up stuck, to put it mildly. About 4.5 years ago, I was physically out of shape, I was mentally dull, I was emotionally unstable, my relationships were suffering, I was drinking excessively, and this was on a pretty good day. Now, at this moment in time, I am the sole 100% owner of a professional and personal development company called High Achievers. I've got to tell you, it wasn't lack of knowledge. It wasn't lack of resources. It wasn't lack of people in my network. It wasn't lack of talent. Something was just off in me personally. Now, when men have a midlife crisis, I want to talk to the men here. When men have a midlife crisis, they normally do one of two things. What do they normally do? One or a combination of two things. Do they have midlife crises in Canada? Is that ever? So what do men do when they have a midlife crisis? They buy a car, and what else? And they get a 20-year-old girlfriend. But these things require money. And I didn't have any money. So my solution took a very different form. I was sitting in my Atlanta Buckhead apartment. I put my head on my desk. I threw my hands up. I started crying, and I said, I just cannot do this anymore. And I said a little prayer. Now, I'm not unfamiliar to prayer. I used to say prayer all the time. I'd say, God, help me with this business. Give me wisdom. Give me strength. Give me the ability to make good decisions. Looking back, these are nothing more than saying, hey, you come down here and fix this mess I made for myself. It was a very different prayer in this moment. I said, I give up. I can't do this. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it. I don't know that I've ever had such an immediate, specific, responsive prayer. The room didn't shake. I didn't hear any voices. I didn't see any visions. But I became present to two things. Number one is that I had been given much. I'd been given much in the way of resources and people and talents that I developed over the last, at that point, 16 years. A network that, by the way, I wasn't calling on. I had background that was an advantage. I'd been on my first mission trip about 3 weeks earlier. I got to see how some of the rest of the world lives, and I even started to see my country as a gift. Some of these people, I thought I had no money at the time. I was in Ecuador, and some of these families had less money for the year than I had in my pocket at that moment. I started taking inventory of what I'd been given, and by contrast, I was putting in very little. Now, I want to speak to some of you right now, because some of you are right there where I was. And I want to be very clear. I was not completely stagnant. I wasn't sitting on the couch every day watching Jerry Springer and drinking beer. I did do this. But I did not do it every day. I mean, I would go to meetings. I would make a few phone calls here and there. I would put on a pretty face. I'd go through the motions. I'd shake hands, say hello, but I just wasn't fully there. I wasn't fully committed. I wasn't truly engaged. My father is a retired preacher, and he used to tell me stories about a minister preaching in a mental institution. And he stood up and he said, why are we all here? And someone said, because we're not all there. I was there, but I wasn't all there. And some of you have been there and not all there. And I made one simple choice. And that's what I'll share with you today. Not the choice. The choice, in retrospect, I don't believe was the most important thing. The most important thing is what I'm going to share with you right now. The choice I made was one simple choice to exercise 30 minutes per day for 30 consecutive days. It ended up being much longer than that. Initially, I made a commitment for 30 days. I was working on a project with a man named Scott Goodnight, and he challenged me. He said, what one thing would you be willing to take on or give up for 30 consecutive days? And I thought about it, and I almost dismissed it. Like some of you today may almost dismiss making one simple choice today that can change the course of your life. I knew it all. I'd been there. I'd been to all the seminars. I led the seminars. You can't tell me how to change my life. But I did. I accepted the challenge. I said I'll exercise for 30 minutes per day for 30 consecutive days. Through this choice, everything in my life changed. I'm going to share with you how specifically that happened. So if you're taking notes, if you have a workshop, a worksheet, Please get one if you don't. They can help you with that in the back. I call these 4 levels of integrity. And I got to see very clearly what was missing in my life through this process. And it's the same thing that's missing in your life, in anyone's life that does not reach their personal potential. It's a thing called integrity. Keeping moral and religious and political implications out of this definition of integrity, perhaps I can give you something that we can all agree on when it comes to integrity. Integrity is doing what you say you're going to do. If you want to get a little bit deeper, it's being who you say you are consistently. And there was a person I said I was, there was a person I portrayed myself to be on stage, but beneath it, I was far from it. I'd have flashes of brilliance, but the consistent character, habits, the actions behind the person I said I was missing. And I got to see very clearly on this one simple choice where integrity works and where integrity lacks. So I want to share this with you, and this is not about me. I want you to take off the mask a little bit today. Not necessarily with me, but with yourself. Just get below the surface and see if you can find yourself somewhere in here. Level 1, integrity. There we go. I call the carrot and the stick. The person that set this up with me, we put a pain on one side and an incentive on the other. Everything we do in life is to gain pleasure, to move away from what? From pain. This is basic psychology. This isn't news to any of you. And so we utilize this, what I call the carrot and the stick. So my choice was exercise for 30 minutes per day. So we put a little stick on there and said, Ken, if I don't exercise one day, it's going to cost me something. One of the most valuable things to me at the time, at least I thought, was money. So I put some money on the line. I didn't have any money, so it cost me money if I didn't work out one day for 30 minutes. Are you with me on this? On the flip side, I put a 30-day reward out there. If I did it every day for 30 days, I got a reward of my choosing. It happened to be a nice dinner with an important person in my life. So I had the carrot and the stick. This is an external structure. By the way, Scott became my accountability partner, so I reported into him every day. This is an external structure designed so that you are encouraged to do what you want to do, and you're discouraged to not do what you don't want to do. Does that make sense? And this worked pretty well, I found, for about 6 days. And on day 6, I was coming back from a seminar in Houston. And it was about 11:01 p.m. when I hit the door of my apartment in Atlanta. So do some math here. I've got 59 minutes to do a 30-minute workout or not. And those voices just started talking. Do you know the ones? The ones that let you off the hook? Man, it's been a long day today. I'm still sore from yesterday. It's been a good day. I made a little money today. Feeling pretty good about myself. Here's the one that almost got me. I'll just double up tomorrow. This voice, and you have one too, is nothing more, nothing less than making it okay for you to let yourself off the hook and not do, well, I'll put it on myself, not do what who said he would do. What I said I would do, which was to exercise every day for 30 minutes, consecutive days. 30, you with me on this? So I was able to channel a slightly different voice, and this one happened to come from my father. When I didn't want to do something like clean my room or eat vegetables or chop wood or other so-called character building activities. Maybe you have to chop wood as a child in here? A lot of wood to chop in Alabama, I'm telling you. I'd say, Dad, it's just not a great day for me to chop wood. I'm kind of tired. I've got more important things to do. It's not a great time. He'd say, Doug, do it anyway. And this is level 2 integrity. These 3 words changed the course of my life. See, integrity has very little to do with feeling. It has little to do with the weather. It has little to do with the time of the day. There's really only one question. Are you going to do what you said you were going to do? And so I channeled these 3 words. What are those words? Let's hear it one more time. Do it